Hey guys, this is Mr. Terry, and I'm here at my kitchen table, which is where I like to do a lot of things. Like I mentioned earlier, the story time, I like to read here sometimes, but also I like to draw here and do art projects here from time to time. I bet a lot of you doing your schoolwork right now are probably doing some at the kitchen table, so it's a good place for us to hang out. Listen, I know we can't have our art class, and I hate that, and I've been missing you guys. But I thought we could maybe do a little art class right here, and I'm going to do a little short video for you to watch. And I'm going to introduce you to a couple artists. One I think you know well, one probably you've heard of, but maybe don't know as well. And we're going to do some artwork in their style. So glad to have you, for you to join for art time this week, and I hope you learn something. The first artist I want to introduce you to is Vincent Van Gogh. You may have heard of him, but you're probably not as familiar with his artwork. Van Gogh lived during the 1800s, and he was part of an art movement known as post-impressionism. Van Gogh started later in life as an artist, and at first he didn't think he was very good at what he did. But he practiced, and he made all kinds of paintings, and toward the end he got better and better. Van Gogh was known for his very colorful landscapes, his very interesting portraits, but mostly he's known for his style and technique, which is evident in his most well-known painting, The Starry Night. The Starry Night, as you can see, uses a lot of hatching, lots of short little brush marks, and they form little lines that make up the artwork. This is the technique that we're going to use today as we're going to make a copy of The Starry Night. Van Gogh wasn't successful in his day, but now he's one of the most famous artists in the world. So that's Vincent Van Gogh. Maybe you'd heard of him before, but I hope even if you had, you learned a little bit more about him and especially his art style, using the little tiny brush strokes, which we might call hatching. What's interesting is Van Gogh is well known as an artist, but he reminds me a lot, especially The Starry Night, which is the picture that we were looking at. Reminds me a lot of another artist you're probably much more familiar with, a guy named Dr. Seuss. And like Van Gogh, Dr. Seuss used a lot of loose strokes in his art, made it very dynamic and very interesting. So let's look at some of his work. Dr. Seuss is one of the best known and best loved illustrators in the world. He did most of his work between the 1940s and the 1980s. He studied art in college, but he got his start by drawing illustrations for things like bug spray and motor oil. Dr. Seuss in 1940 wrote his first children's book, And to Think I Saw It on Mulberry Street, which was inspired by a street close to his home when he was a boy. Dr. Seuss's work is known for its dynamic movement. Everything in it seems to be alive, and one of the reasons for this is because of his use of hatching, the technique we saw in Van Gogh's work that we're going to use today. For our project today, we're just going to use a half piece of paper, and I'm going to use colored pencils, and I've got a variety of colors: yellow, orange, blues, greens, and blacks. I'm also going to use a regular number 2 pencil to get started. It really doesn't matter what you use for this project. Whatever you have on hand will work. If you have crayons, if you have markers, if you have oil pastel, some of you may have an art set. Just anything with colors is pretty much all that you need. But you don't even actually have to have colors. If you use just a regular pencil, you can do it in black and white. Van Gogh and Dr. Seuss both did a lot of work in black and white, and so you just kind of leave a little bit extra spaces between your hash marks. But anything at all that you have, experiment. Do something new, do something different. Any of that will work. All I'm going to do here at the beginning is just simply do a quick outline of the Starry Night, starting with one of my favorite parts, this big tree right in the middle. After that, I'm going to do the line for the ground. I'm going to add in the moon here and the stars. I'm just going to do really light circles, and you really want all of this to be pretty light as you draw it. I'm going to draw the swirls, and I'm going to do these extremely light because we don't want a really thick outline on this. And then of course at the bottom I'm going to add in the little houses. One of my favorite parts is the little church there at the bottom. So just do a quick outline and we'll get started adding the colors. It's really important that you use your lightest color first, which in this case is going to be yellow. Don't spend too much time on this. Let it be loose and free. This needs to be lively and fun, so don't worry about it being perfect. When using yellow on the tree, only do it on the side of the moon because that's the side the light is going to be shining from. Our next color is going to be orange. Remember, we're working from light to dark. Again, don't worry about things being perfect. Let it be free and fun. From this point on, I'm going to let you just kind of follow along. If the video moves too fast for you, feel free to pause it so that you can catch up. And just pay attention to what colors we're using next. We'll go from orange to green in just a moment, from green into blue, and then we'll go all the way into black. So just follow as we see, and just use what colors you have. If you want to substitute a different color for something, feel free to do that. This is all about having fun and making something that's beautiful and full of life. Okay, as I start to work on these swirls, I'm going to do these quick lines, and it's these lines that remind me a lot of Dr. Seuss. If you look at some of his illustrations, he has a lot of these kind of zigzaggy lines, which is what I saw when I looked at Van Gogh's work and wanted to incorporate in our drawing today. Leave a little extra space between these marks so that the color will look lighter. Now I'm using a dark blue. This is a navy blue. It's very dark, almost black. Don't forget windows for our little houses. Finally, we're using our black pencil. It's our darkest color, and we're going to be putting our finishing touches on our drawing. Now we use our black to add in a few outlines. This is going to kind of wrap up our picture and make it more defined so people can see it more clearly. I think that's about got it. Let's look it over once good and make sure we have everything we want in it. Well, there you have it. We finished up our project. I hope that you're happy with how yours turned out. I'm happy with mine, though it's not perfect by any means. But I just remind you, listen, when you do a work of art, it doesn't have to be perfect. It's kind of like when you eat food, like if you eat something, sometimes you eat things that are your favorite foods and they taste great and you enjoy that, and you have a good feeling after you eat that. Other times, sometimes we have to eat things maybe that are not our favorites, but they're still very good for us. So whether we think it tasted good or we enjoyed it as much or not, no matter what, when we eat something, it nourishes our body and it makes us healthy and strong. And it's the same way when we draw. Sometimes we get done with our drawing and we're not as happy with it, or we didn't enjoy it as much, but it still makes us a better artist because we've been practicing and we've gotten experience. So I hope that if you weren't happy with this one, you'll try it again. And really, the only secret to getting good at art or drawing is to draw and draw as much as you can. I hope while you have free time, you might take advantage of some YouTube videos. I know Mo Willems, who did the Pigeon Drives the Bus and other books like that, has some great drawing tutorials, and I'm sure there's plenty more on YouTube. So take advantage of that and use that time and practice. But at the end of the day, the more you draw, the better you'll get at it. Thanks for tuning in. Hope you guys are safe and well and feeling good, and I can't wait to see you guys back at school. Have a good day. This is Mr. Terry.